When hate speech, calls for violence, death threats, and praise for neo-Nazis are considered acceptable by Meta because of war, but only against the enemy, then they are clearly state-affiliated media. They're also directly promoting and encouraging conflict, violence, and war.
Facebook is changing its hate speech policy so that some users can call for violence against Russians. And you can support the good Nazis too.
The company claims the decision is temporary and comes in connection with Russia's special operation in Ukraine. Meta will reportedly lift its hate speech restrictions for users only from some European states, including Russia and Ukraine. The tech giant, however, insists the decision is not aimed at inciting violence against ordinary people. It comes 2 weeks after Meta established a special operations center in order to tackle hate speech on the platform and remove content that incites violence. Yet its policy U-turn will also allow the previously banned praise for Kiev's neo-Nazi Azov battalion, quote, in the context of defending Ukraine. Here's a look at the infamous militia group at the heart of the current fighting. Independent journalist Thomas Wooper says tech giants simply mirror Washington's foreign policy.
Well, there's an old, nice word for it. It's called racism. We can even call it fascism. That's nationalism. When America declares somebody an enemy, all these companies go that way. And money is not as important as politics for them. And right now we see it with Russia. It's not about money, not about business. These are not commercial companies. These are instruments. And now we have a radical anti-Russian policy in the West, and these companies support this. And Facebook is just the most radical example. These internet companies always care about politics, and they always have the same opinion like Washington.
The Ukrainian refugee movement is described as one of the fastest and largest in recent years by humanitarian organizations, with most people fleeing to neighboring Poland. Polish authorities estimate that on average, 2 Ukrainians cross the border every 3 seconds. EU officials have confirmed the bloc's already received more than 2 million people from Ukraine, with Germany, Belgium, Moldova, and other countries said to have been overwhelmed by the influx. Many who have fled say they fear for their families' lives.
All the time the shooting we hear. That's why we're afraid we go to the Kiev. My family tried to the Europe. They shooting, our army shooting, it was a very bad place for living or just staying there.
At a meeting with his Belarusian counterpart, Vladimir Putin has noted positive changes in Moscow-Kiev talks. An agreement on evacuation corridors has been a point of contention between Kiev and Moscow since the 3rd round of bilateral talks last week. And Ukraine's president has repeatedly accused Russia of not obeying a ceasefire deal for civilian safe zones. Moscow, in turn, says it's Kiev that's been deliberately preventing people from fleeing. Russia's military has announced that the Donetsk Republic's army has taken control of the city of Volnovakha, the site of intense fighting in recent days, with civilians having found themselves caught in between the warring sides. Volnovakha is 60 kilometers from the city of Donetsk. On March the 5th, the Russian and Ukrainian sides agreed to open humanitarian corridors for civilians, though they still haven't managed to function as intended. An RT crew went to the city in question and talked to locals who have had to hide in basements.
Volnovakha is a small town of 20,000 inhabitants. It's turned into one of the hottest spots on the Donbass front, with intense fighting going on for days. The situation is changing every 10 minutes. The elderly, women, and children have been trapped in damp basements for more than a week now. The Donetsk Republic's forces share food and medicine.
We're relatively bald, as others have sat in basements for a week now. It's been like hell for us for 4 days. We didn't think we would live through it. Just today, a projectile pierced the roof where the kids' bedroom is. We are simply cut off. Nobody announced anything. I wish someone would have just driven by and told us, for example, whether they are going to get people out. But no, they just shoot, and that's it. We're sitting here, and we are afraid to leave.
We cross live now to a UN Security Council meeting that was convened at the request of Russia and which has begun. It comes after Moscow says it recently found documents that showed components of biological weapons that were made in Ukrainian laboratories with funding from the United States. Let's listen in.
The Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I now give the floor to Ms. Rosemary DiCarlo.
Madam President, the war in Ukraine is now in its 3rd week. Fighting continues unabated. The Russian armed forces are pursuing their offensive operations and laying siege to several cities in the south, east, and north of the country. A large concentration of Russian forces is reportedly massed along several approaches to the capital, Kyiv. The situation is particularly alarming in Mariupol, Kharkiv, Sumy, and Chernihiv, where there is shelling of residential areas and civilian infrastructure, resulting in an increasing number of civilians killed and injured. The utter devastation being visited on these cities is horrific. The numbers bear out the conclusion that civilians are paying the highest price for the conflict. As of 11 March, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has recorded a total of 1,546 civilian casualties, including 564 killed and 982 injured since the start of the invasion on 24 February. OHCHR believes the real casualty figures are likely considerably higher, as information from locations whose intense hostilities are ongoing has been delayed and reports are still pending corroboration. Most of the recorded civilian casualties, which include children, have been caused by explosive weapons with a wide impact area, including heavy artillery and multi-launch rocket systems and missile and airstrikes. OHCHR has received credible reports of Russian forces using cluster munitions, including in populated areas. Indiscriminate attacks, including those using cluster munitions, which are of a nature to strike military objectives and civilians or civilian objects without distinction, are prohibited under international humanitarian law. Direct attacks against civilians and civilian objects, as well as so-called area bombardment in towns and villages, are also prohibited under international law and may amount to war crimes. As of 10 March, the World Health Organization has verified 26 attacks on health facilities, health workers, and ambulances, causing 12 deaths and 34 injuries. This includes the bombing of the Mariupol Maternity Hospital on 9 March. We condemn such attacks without reservation. They cause not only death and destruction, they also deprive people of urgently needed care and endanger more lives. We cannot emphasize it enough. The targeting of civilians, of residential buildings, hospitals, schools, kindergartens is inexcusable and intolerable. All alleged violations of international human law must be investigated and those found responsible held accountable. Madam President, millions of people in Ukraine need urgent assistance. This includes 2 million internally displaced people. We are scaling up humanitarian aid in areas where security permits. More than 500,000 people are now receiving assistance, including life-saving food, shelter, blankets, and medical supplies. The United Nations and our partners have developed operational plans to meet humanitarian needs where they are most acute. This work needs funding. Over $1.5 billion was pledged to the appeals last week. We are grateful for this generosity and encourage donors to release the funding quickly. Madam President, it is critical to urgently achieve a cessation of hostilities, to allow for the safe passage of civilians from besieged areas, and to ensure that life-saving humanitarian supplies can reach those who remain. On 9 March, over 51,000 people were reportedly evacuated through 5 out of 6 agreed upon safe passages. These safe passages must continue. They should be implemented with clear principles and modalities. Civilians should be duly and timely informed of the possibility to leave the concerned areas and on a voluntary basis and in the direction they choose. To expand life-saving assistance and services to those most in need, humanitarian actors must also have safe, rapid, unimpeded, and sustained access to all areas. We commend the humanitarian actors on the ground who are staying and delivering in a highly volatile situation. Madam President, the number of refugees from Ukraine has reached 2.5 million people. These numbers continue increasing by the day. We also commend the countries that have kept their borders open to welcome and support refugees. All people fleeing Ukraine, including third country nationals, need access to safety and protection in line with the principle of non-refoulement and without any form of discrimination. Madam President, the need for negotiations to stop the war in Ukraine could not be more urgent. We note the 3 rounds of talks held thus far between Ukrainian and Russian delegations. We call for such efforts to intensify, including to further secure humanitarian and ceasefire arrangements as a matter of priority. We urge the sides to build on their contacts, such as the meeting yesterday between the foreign ministers of Ukraine and the Russian Federation in Antalya, Turkey. The logic of dialogue and diplomacy must prevail over the logic of war. The Secretary General is grateful to the many member states working in pursuit of a diplomatic solution to this dangerous conflict. He is in regular contact with regional and other leaders, and his good offices remain available. Madam President, let me affirm the U.S. commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders. As the war grinds on, there's already much reflection about its implications beyond the tragedy it represents for Ukraine. We increasingly hear the use of terms such as turning point, defining moment, end of multilateralism. I believe this is not an exaggeration. Indeed, some consequences are already being felt economically and politically. Perhaps most alarming are the risks the violence poses to the global framework for peace and security. We must do everything we can to find a solution and put an end to this war. And we must do it now. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank Ms. De Carlo for her briefing. I now give the floor to Ms. Izumina Kamitsu.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, distinguished members of the Security Council, I thank Council members for the opportunity to brief you this morning. I am aware of reports that certain public health facilities are in areas impacted by armed conflict, putting the safety of those facilities at risk. I appeal to all parties in this conflict to ensure the safety of all such facilities in Ukraine. I am aware of media reports regarding allegations of biological weapons programs. The United Nations is not aware of any biological weapons programs. That is largely thanks to the 1972 Biological Weapons Convention, which prohibits the development, production, acquisition, transfer, stockpiling, and use of biological and toxic weapons. The Russian Federation and Ukraine are both states parties to the convention. In addition, the Russian Federation is a depository government under the convention. All states parties to the convention have undertaken never in any circumstances to develop, produce, stockpile, or otherwise acquire or retain biological weapons. Biological weapons have been outlawed since the BWC entered into force in 1975. A total of 183 states have now joined the convention, and biological weapons are universally seen as being abhorrent and illegitimate. The BWC lacks a multilateral verification mechanism overseen by an independent organization, such as the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Therefore, assessing compliance with its obligations is a task for its states parties. Madam President, despite the lack of an international verification regime, the Biological Weapons Convention does, however, contain several measures to which concerned states parties can have recourse in order to address situations in which states parties have concerns or suspicions about the activities of their peers. For example, Article 5 of the Convention states that, and I quote, "The states parties to this convention undertake to consult one another and to cooperate in solving any problems which may arise in relation to the objective of or in the application of the provisions of this convention." End of quote. Within the framework of Article 5, states parties have established an annual exchange of information based upon the submission of confidence-building measures. States parties must declare information about relevant facilities and activities on their territory in order to prevent or reduce the occurrence of ambiguous doubts and suspicions between them. The Russian Federation and Ukraine both participate annually in the confidence-building measures. The annual reports submitted by the Russian Federation and Ukraine are available to all BWC states parties for the purposes of transparency and reassurance. In addition, and also within the framework of Article 5 of the Convention, states parties have developed procedures for clarifying ambiguous and unresolved matters, including the possible convening of a formal consultative meeting to consider such matters. Article 6 of the Convention states that, and I quote, "Any state party to this convention which finds that any other state party is acting in breach of obligations deriving from the provisions of the convention may lodge a complaint with the Security Council. If agreed by the Security Council, an investigation on the basis of the complaint received could be initiated. Article 6 of the Convention has never been activated." While these provisions have not been regularly used, they are nonetheless internationally agreed procedures that are available to be used to diffuse tensions and to address and resolve any concerns relating to compliance with obligations under the BWC in a multilateral setting. I would therefore encourage BWC states parties to consider making use of the available procedures for consultation and cooperation in order to resolve these issues. Madam President, distinguished members of the Security Council, situations such as this demonstrate the need to strengthen the BWC, to operationalize it, and to institutionalize it. I would therefore like to take this opportunity to encourage its states parties to come to the Convention's 9th Review Conference, scheduled to take place in Geneva later in 2022, committed to a series of overhaul of the convention to ensure it is properly equipped and resourced to deal with the challenges ahead. Madam President, distinguished members of the Security Council, to conclude my statement, I would like to take this opportunity to address the worrying issue of the safety and security of nuclear power plants in Ukraine. An accident involving nuclear facilities in Ukraine could have severe consequences for public health and environment, and all steps must be taken to avoid it. The possibility of an accident caused by failure to a reactor's power supply or the inability to provide regular maintenance is growing by the day. The forces in effective control of nuclear power plants in Ukraine must ensure their safe and secure operation. I am extremely concerned that 4 of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA's 7 pillars of the safe and secure operations of facilities are reportedly not being implemented at Chernobyl and Zaporizhzhia. Communications must be fully restored and operating staff must be allowed to properly carry out their duties and to do so free of undue pressure. I would like to echo the Secretary General's support for IAEA Director General Grossi's efforts to develop a framework to ensure the safety and security of Ukraine's facilities and welcome the constructive meetings he held in Turkey on 10th of March with the foreign ministers of Ukraine and the Russian Federation. I thank you very much for your attention.
I thank Ms. Nakamitsu for her briefing. I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements. I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Madam President, distinguished colleagues, the coronavirus pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic has shown us how vulnerable humankind is when facing biological threats. It has already taken and continues taking a huge number of human lives. In 1975, when the Convention on Banning the Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention came into force, we had the hope that the world managed to get rid itself of at least those biological threats which are created by men, because everyone who signed this understood the huge risks of using biological weapons and decided to forego any plans to develop it. Unfortunately, we have reason to believe that these hopes have not been fully fulfilled. We convened the meeting today because as Russia is conducting a special military operation in Ukraine, we discovered a truly shocking acts of emergency cleanup by the Kiev regime of the traces of a military biological program, which is being implemented by Kiev with support by the United States Ministry of Defense. Our Ministry of Defense, Russian Ministry of Defense, now has documents which confirms that on the territory of Ukraine, there was a network consisting of at least 30 biological laboratories in which very dangerous biological experiments be conducted, aimed at strengthening the pathogenic qualities of the plague, anthrax, tularemia, cholera, and other lethal diseases using synthetic biology. This work is being done and funded and supervised by the Defense Threat Reduction Agency of the United States, including in the interest of the National Center for Medical Intelligence of the United States Ministry of Defense. The key role in implementing this program was placed by the Central Reference Laboratory with a biosafety level 3, using for its the basis of the Ukrainian scientific anti-plague institute named after Mechnikov and located in Odessa. An active participant here was also conducted by research centers in other cities of Ukraine, in Kiev, and Lvov, and Kharkov, and Dnepr, and Kherson, in Chernobyl.
Hello. Hello.
Well, can you say it a little bit louder?
Is it better?
Yeah, it's much better. So it's very good to have you. Let's talk a little bit. Now, I have some questions, if you don't mind. First of all, to start. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself. What I mean here is, where are you from? If you go to school or if you go to college or university. What kind of book do you study in English? How many classes of English do you usually have in your school, and so on and so forth? So just tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm Ola. I'm 17. I live in Bryansk, Russia. I'm in 11th class in school.
What kind of a school is that?
Usually school.
Okay, regular school. Yeah, I understand. Okay, how many classes of English do you have?
10.
10 classes of English every week?
Every week, 6.
6 classes of English every week?
Yes.
Wow. And you said that this is a regular school?
In the school, it is 4, but I visit language courses.
Okay. Yeah. Now that makes sense. All right. So, which book do you study at school?
Before 9th class, I had Verbitska, but now I have another book. Just a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Bibaletova.
Okay. And what is the name of the book?
Enjoy English.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of an old one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Enjoy English. All right. Now, what do you think? Where did you learn your English? Just share your ideas. What do you think of that?
What?
Where did you learn your English? So you started, let's say that it was in regular school, but you speak English in regular schools. I don't think that they teach you to talk. They just teach you the book, the grammar, and that's it. But okay, I will ask you in a different way. How about your teachers? I mean the English teachers. Do they speak English with you?
No, we usually in Russia.
Yeah,
Usually
so
speak.
that's why I'm asking you, where did you learn your English? You see my point. You said that the teachers, they do not speak English, they speak Russian, but you speak English. So where did you learn speaking English?
In my English courses.
Okay, so just tell me then about your English courses.
It is British Bridge. I visit it 2 times a week, and we usually speak English there.
What did you talk about?
About my English courses.
Well, you know that what topics, what subjects did you discuss?
Where?
In your, like you said, well, sometimes we call it night school, but your additional English course.
We speak on different topics.
For example?
The last topic is family.
Family? Okay. How about the Russian national exam? Do you think that they are getting you prepared for this exam?
I don't like them.
So that means that you are not going to take the Russian national exam, ЕГЭ, no?
Yes, I will pass, but I don't know how can I pass them.
Yeah, that's kind of, but you have so little time left. How can that be? I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of a good. Now, what do you want to talk about right now? What do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Well, that's not a good idea because of course, you know, as a teacher, I have lots of stuff to do, but this is what I want. And when I want something, that means that I will learn. This is not my point. My point is I want you to learn something. I want you to, I don't know, to talk about something which is really necessary for you to talk about, which is really interesting for you. And I don't know what is interesting, what is necessary. Just think about that. That's the biggest problem. Why it's really hard for the students of the Russian schools to speak English. Because usually it's the teacher is the talking head and you are just listening. So, okay, just think a little bit. What topic will be good for you to talk about?
Nothing comes to mind. Maybe your suggestion.
Sorry?
Maybe your suggestions.
No. It doesn't work like that. I'm so sorry about that, but that's the biggest problem. I really don't know what is necessary for you. I cannot know that. You have to understand that. Of course, as a teacher, I prepared lots of stuff. You can, if you look around, you will see tons of books, tons of all kinds of topics. But these topics are not for you. I don't know you at all.
Maybe books.
Okay, why is that? Why books?
I don't know.
Well, if you come to the exam and when you say, I don't know, so then you will probably, you will not pass the exam. You will fail it, you know. So please just forget this set phrase, I don't know. It's not for your exam. You will never use this set phrase during your exam. Otherwise, you will fail the exam. You have to understand that. So why books? Just think a little bit about that.
I like reading books.
Like what? What kind of books?
Fantastic books.
You mean science fiction books, and you think of some titles of the book, some names of the book?
I like Harry Potter.
Okay, yeah, I don't. So let's talk about Harry Potter. Why do you like it?
It is a really cool atmosphere. We usually look it in a new year, and I have a lot of memory related with these books.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Did you read it in English?
Yes.
Oh, seriously? Excellent. That's fantastic. Very good. So, how many books by Harry Potter did you read in English?
2.
2 books. What are the names?
Philosophy Stone, and second part I forgot.
That's okay. The book 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's quite normal. Well, if you ask me, I tried to read Harry Potter like from the very first book, and it was many years ago. I think it was 1990 something. I tried. It was only the beginning of the internet, and one of my friends shared this book with me, and I tried to read it, but I couldn't. It's when I start reading it, I read the first page, and then I understand that I'm reading, but my thoughts are somewhere away, not in the book, so that I'm losing the train of thought. I'm losing the idea of what they're talking about. I have no idea. I tried to start to read this book many times, and I couldn't. But at the same time, what do you think? What's the connection between this book and the Russian national exam?
When we read books, we remember words, and we don't take mistakes.
Okay, that's
moreover.
Yeah, go ahead.
We train grammar.
Grammar. All right. Yeah. But I think that that the format of the exam changed for this year, right? So what do you know about this new format?
It changed a little. I see changes only in essay, but it is not really difficult.
Oh, seriously?
No, if I will write essay every week, I'll write it on a 14 ball.
Points.
Yes.
Points. Okay. Your score will be 14 points for the essay. Okay. I will challenge you. I would like not to write, you will not write it, but you will try and talk about one of the exam tasks. Okay. If you agree, right? Okay. Yeah. Just 1 second. I will find the part. Okay. It's here, and I will share the screen with you. So can you see the picture
Yes.
Okay. Can you read the task?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Imagine that you are doing a project on occasions for buying gifts in Zetland. You have found some data on the subject as a result of the opinion polls. See the diagram below.
Go ahead. Keep on reading.
Use the following plan. Is it?
Yeah, comment on the data.
In the diagram and give your opinion on the subject on the project.
Okay. And then I think that it's kind of a blurry. It's not that easy for you to read. I will help you. Occasions for buying gifts in Zetland. Then you have Christmas, 30%, wedding, 27%, graduations, 22%, childbirth, 17%, and birthday, 4%. Okay, go ahead. Read. Then, after that.
Repeat for you.
Read further on. Keep on reading.
Use the following plan. Make an opening statement on subject on the project. Okay. Select and report 2 or 3 facts. Make 1 to comparisons where relevant. Outline a problem that can arise with choosing a birthday present and suggest a way of solving it. Conclude by giving your opinion on the reasons why people buy gifts.
Very well. Yeah, your reading is pretty good. That's okay. So, talk. Instead of writing, just imagine that you have to write an essay right now, but the only difference is you will not write. You will just talk. Okay? Start talking.
Should I start?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. This day, the topic of occasions for buying gifts in Zetland results in a great discussion in society. While doing my own project on buying gifts, I have found some relevant data, and I'm going to analyze it. Overall, according to the results of opinion polls, we may notice that Christmas people living in Zetland prefer Christmas. Gifts, moreover, what is the second word?
Wedding.
Wedding. Wedding also quite spread among people living in Zetland. Obviously, 22% третье.
Graduation. And speak English, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, do not switch into Russian.
22% graduations and 17%. No, I can't see.
It's childbirth.
childbirth.
The last one is birthday.
By contrast, birthday gifts only 4%. One issue is often associated with gifts, buying gifts, is maybe lack of free money. People haven't enough money to buy presents, and they, for example, grown-ups don't get gifts on their birthday. I usually get children. The best way to solve this problem is that we shouldn't pay attention on rich presents. We should be happy for inexpensive gifts.
For what?
Inexpensive. Oh,
Okay.
For example.
Yeah.
For example, a box of sweets, not phone. In conclusion, I would like to say that occasions for buying gifts in Zetland, people should pay attention for all present they give or get. That's all.
Okay, yeah, but that was a very good presentation. I like your grammar. I have some comments on your pronunciation because you know, diagram, analyze, obviously, percent. This is how we usually pronounce it. Okay, again, just like diagram. Say it, diagram.
Diagram.
Analyze.
Analyze.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Percent.
Percent.
And then you said we usually say box of chocolates. Box of chocolates. That's what you say, box of sweets. We usually say box of chocolates. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But still, as I said, I have, you know, I have no corrections for your grammar. It's okay. I understood what you were saying, just mostly everything. But I didn't understand your ideas were that people do not have enough money because of the lack of free money, as you said, free money. People do not buy gifts for birthday, but you have to keep in mind that they still buy, at the same time, they still buy gifts for Christmas. So if they do not have enough money to buy gifts for birthday, why they have enough money to buy so many gifts on Christmas? Why did you say about that people do not have enough money? I don't understand.
Well, grown-ups don't happy for presents. On Christmas, we usually send presents for children, no grown-ups.
On Christmas for children?
Yes.
That's an interesting idea. I never heard about that. Yeah, I'm just thinking that you might be right, but I never heard about that. If you just have a look at, I have some videos on my website of English people, British people celebrating Christmas. And it's usually, you know, you put your boxes under the Christmas tree, and that's the husband puts his box for his wife puts his box for him. So that's Christmas presents, Christmas gifts for everybody in the family, both for adults and for children. So I wouldn't say that it's kind of something new for me. Okay. So I don't think that you explained, you know, that you have a couple of questions here. So the first question you didn't explain why people spend only 4% of their money for birthday presents, but at the same time they spend 30% of their money for Christmas. You didn't explain that. Can you?
I'm trying.
Yeah, go ahead. So you were absolutely correct when you pay attention to this outline a problem that can arise with choosing a birthday present. Okay, let me try and help you. So you know that if you start from the very beginning, imagine that you are doing a project on occasions for buying gifts in Zetland. Well, you know that those were teachers, like, let's say, big teachers from Moscow, or I don't know, who put together all of these tasks. And you have to keep in mind that they were having in mind all of these issues, all of these problems. They know what problems they wanted to ask you about. Like, you know, if you remember, there was an essay about smartphones. So these teachers from Moscow, or big teachers who were putting together all of these tasks, they were thinking that the problem with the cell phones will be something like, is it possible to allow students to have cell phones at school or not? So you understand that all of these tasks, you have to understand from the point of the teacher. So you see that if I ask you what is the problem with the cell phone, probably you will never think about, is it allowed to take your cell phones to the class in high school or not? But from the point of view of the teacher, this is one of the problems. Now, talking about this problem. Just you have to think from the point of view of the teacher. And the teacher is asking because the teacher knows the answer. You have to understand what kind of a problem might be. What is the problem that can arise with choosing a birthday present? And another thing is, why would people put it like that? Christmas 30% and birthday only 4%. From the point of view of the teacher, what do you think?
Maybe because on Christmas we send presents for a lot of people, while in the birthday only one person.
That's a very good idea. But then, you know, that's a very good idea. I like it. So the meaning is that we have a lot of friends where we do not attend their birthday parties, something like that. But at the same time, we attend the Christmas parties, let's say, and then during this Christmas party, we give presents to other people. And we do not have a lot of occasions for, because mostly we give presents to our relatives, right? And we do not have a lot of relatives. That's what I can hear from what you're saying. Is it correct?
Yes.
But then you see, it says, what problem can arise with choosing a birthday present? You have to connect everything. So what problem, and you didn't mention in your first presentation, when you started your presentation, you didn't say about that. What problem can arise with choosing a birthday present? And again, I want you to understand that this is from the point of view of the teacher. Problems that can arise with choosing a birthday present.
Maybe on a birthday we should give expensive presents.
Okay. Now, you know that now you have to connect all together. Now, the last question is why people buy gifts? Why do you buy gifts? And again, think mostly from the point of view of the teacher. Because you know that they say that all of these issues, all of these problems are only those problems which you discussed in your school. It means in any other class, like you could have discussed that in your geography class or in your literature class. I mean, you discuss these issues in the Russian language, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So just think about that. Your opinion on the reasons why people buy gifts. What do you think? Why people buy gifts?
People want to do other people happy.
Okay, now, you know what we have. People buy gifts because they want to make other people happy. Okay?
Yes.
Then that's the first idea. So the second idea is that we do not have a lot of relatives. That is why we spend only 4% buying gifts for birthday for relatives. But for Christmas, we have lots of not only relatives, but lots of friends. So that is why we have to spend much more money, okay? And the last point is what problem can arise with choosing a birthday present is that the birthday present should be expensive, whereas the Christmas present, it's not that necessary for the Christmas present to be expensive. But the only problem here is that even if you spend so much money on Christmas, let's say that, for example, for the whole year, for all of these occasions, let's say you spend, I don't know, 10,000 rubles. It's just, it's my wild guess. I'm just, pretending something. So that means that you spend 3,000 you spend for Christmas, and only 400 rubles you spend for birthday. And you said that birthday is very expensive. It doesn't connect. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So again, for Christmas, you said that you don't need to buy something expensive. You spend 3,000 rubles. But for birthday, you said you have to buy something expensive, but you spend only 400 rubles. So how can that be?
Maybe we don't take gifts for every birthday. For example, on a birthday, we can send a present for 4 people, but on a Christmas, we take a gift for 10 people because it is inexpensive. And
yeah,
we can.
I understand, but do you consider 400? Like I said, spending 400, do you consider 400 an expensive gift? It's not expensive. Well, you see that, like you said, that's a very easy task. I don't think so. You can talk, you can write, you can, grammar. Oh, that's okay. But you know that you have to connect all of your ideas. And probably you can see it by yourself that not everything is being connected right now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, but give your ideas. Again, as I said, that 4% is not expensive. Okay.
It connected with number of people who whom we give the present.
Well, you know, I'm trying to make hard time for you. Hard time, that means that I want you to understand that this is an exam. So I did it intentionally. Now, you know that the question is, you are doing a project on occasions. Occasions is in Russian, you can say about something like повод. You know, you're doing a project on poverty for buying gifts in Zetland. And then if you have a look at this graph, you will see that 30% is not money. I'm just trying to make hard time for you. 30%, that's the meaning 30% of people out of, let's say, 100 people. It's not 10,000 rubles. It's, let's pretend, out of 100 people, 30% buy presents for Christmas. So out of 100 people, 30 people will buy presents for Christmas, and only 4 people will buy presents for birthday. And it goes very well with your point that why is that? Because birthday is expensive. Not everybody can allow this opportunity to buy an expensive gift. So only 4 people out of 100 are rich. You know, most of the people are not that rich. Okay, so that is why they buy inexpensive gifts. And that's why they mentioned this occasion. So it's just like, you know, when you approach people and you ask, hey, on what occasion do you buy gifts? People say, well, most of the people will say, hey, for Christmas. How about you? When do you buy more? When do you buy gifts, for Christmas or for gifts? When do you buy more gifts, for Christmas or for birthday?
As for me, I usually take presents for birthday.
Okay, but that means that you are a pretty rich person, right?
No.
Yeah, that's up to you. That's, you see, this is, the ideas are not mine. I have totally, I started my class with that I will have no ideas. All of the ideas are yours, and I like your ideas. I really like it. Just think about that, because, you know, you answered the question, outline a problem that can arise with choosing a birthday present. The problem is that I don't have a lot of money. And that is why it's really hard to choose a present if you have 400 rubles. What kind of present can you buy for a birthday for 400 rubles? Can you think of it? Just one flower? I'm joking. Okay, and then your opinion on reasons why people buy gifts. When you said that you want to make people happy, well, people will be happy on Christmas even if you give them, well, I don't know, one postcard, and people will be happy. But when you give for birthday a postcard, probably they will not be happy, right?
Yes.
So that kind of concludes. Now, what do you generally think about your essay? Is it okay?
No.
Why not? I like it. That's all right. So, did you write the essay about occasions for buying gifts? Did you write it? No?
No.
Okay, so that will be your home assignment. You can write it and send it to me, and I will check it for you, okay? So, do you have any questions?
About to say no.
Any other types of questions?
I would like to hear about your job.
My job?
Yes.
Okay, I'm retired. You understand retired?
No.
I'm a pensioner. Okay, I stopped working, after I stopped working for high schools, I worked as a translator and interpreter, but then COVID, so Americans didn't come. I stopped working as a translator. Right now, I teach English online for people like you.
Where you were when you was translator?
I was in the United States of America a couple of times. I was in the Netherlands, but mostly for many, many years, I worked in Russia as a translator and interpreter. I worked in Russia.
And did you like it?
Yes.
That's great.
Why?
In Vienna, I would like to stay translator too, but I have a bad English.
Well, I don't know. It's not about good or bad English. Translation is just it's a really scrupulous work. It's a very detailed job, detailed, because you need to know lots of very small details. You understand? It's very technical, very technical. Like, one day you have to work for oil and gas. Another day you have to work for agriculture, which is totally different. Just like, for example, you have to explain how to milk a cow. Then the next day you might work for IT guys for something, software for computers. Then the next day you can work for any kind of company you can just think of. So that's the biggest. It's not because sometimes I worked for Chinese American. So that's the person was American, but he was originally ethnically from China. His English was absolutely awful. And so he broke my English. But I worked for him for 1 year because he liked me. I just helped him to speak with other people, but his English was very poor. So that's, I don't think that this is, that depends a lot on knowing grammar, because you have to understand what other people say, but it's not a big deal. Mostly you have to know a lot of details. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Anything?
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Do not forget about your essay. Just send it to me. All right. Bye-bye for now.
Goodbye.